Welcome to the first episode of the Unfortunate Diehards podcast. I'm Evan, this is
Omar,
Sufi,
and we'll be talking to you about our very unfortunate experiences with the NHL. But we're diehards, so can't quit it yet. So, we'll kind of run through who we are and why we're a fan of the teams we are. So I'm a Sens fan. My name's Evan, like I said, and I might not have to explain why it's so unfortunate at times. Between Uber videos and players running away. I'm fine, by the way.
mediocrity.
Whatever. But things are looking up.
I can't even comment.
Maybe we get into the playoffs over other teams that may be seated at this table. And
Big up.
yeah, I started liking the Sens when I was about 12 and never looked back. What about you, Omar?
I'm wearing my Kessel jersey. Tells you how much pain I've been through. I'm a Leafs fan. My name is Omar. I've been a Leafs fan since I was 8. Most of my life has been an unfortunate Leafs fan because I've seen nothing but sadness. One playoff win when I was 10 years old. But yeah, that's me. How about you, Sufi?
I'm a Caps fan. It's been probably the least unfortunate out of the three, but still unfortunate in terms of everything past the cup is like extremely sad, and then everything before the cup was basically the same as what it is now. But I became a fan when I was 7. And that was when NHL 07 came out, and I saw Ovechkin on the cover and the highlights, and I was in love. So, yeah.
Bandwagoner.
Yeah. Kessel. Ugh.
Well,
Look at this jersey. Look how old it is, bro. It's not even the right color, see?
True.
so we'll hop right into things. So, obviously, one of the biggest trades...
Wait, I didn't say my line. Sorry.
What the heck's your line?
I have to tell people to watch it because it's a brown podcast.
Oh. Well, I guess we'll just leave it at that.
Let them know.
Majority.
The reason you need to be watching our podcast is because, and I'm pretty sure I'm right when I say this, we are the only NHL podcast in the world that has 2 brown guys on it.
Or like all the other ones, we'll fade into obscurity very quickly.
What?
Because then we just haven't noticed them.
True. That's true. Let's hope that's not true. Oh, sorry, Evan. Sorry, you.
Yeah.
continue.
Anyway, start to the
Just let me
podcast.
know when you want to say
Sorry.
your lines. So we'll jump right in things. Recently, one of the biggest trades you could argue in NHL history has happened. 2 100-point players were traded for each other, along with other pieces as well. So I'll run over the trade really quick, and then, which also recently has come out, the extension to obviously Matthew Tkachuk, but also Jonathan Huberdeau extending for 8 years in Calgary, I think changes the whole dynamic of the trade. It's so essentially the trade was Jonathan Huberdeau, Mackenzie Weegar, Cole Schwint, and a first-round pick that goes to Calgary for Matthew Tkachuk and a conditional 4th-round pick. So Matthew Tkachuk signed a $9.5 million AAV 8-year contract with Florida, and Jonathan Huberdeau a couple days ago signed an 8-year extension with Calgary at $10.5 million a year. So Tkachuk is younger, but at the time I would say you were getting a top pair defenseman, you were getting a first-line winger, and a pick and a prospect for a first-line winger. But there was the chance that those 2 big pieces walk, and then you may have nothing after that. But signing that 100-point player, I think changes the whole dynamic of the trade. Don't you think, Armor?
Yeah.
Matter of fact.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I mean, yes, yeah, you're not wrong. My big question with Calgary is more around what else do they need? Because I think we can all be in agreement. I think most people can be in agreement that they did a good job on that trade.
Yeah, we all agree that
Yeah.
Calgary is now officially solidified the win in this trade.
I
Like, if
think-
they
yeah.
both walked, it would have been interesting, but now it's like, okay, this is...
Mhm.
And like, it's obvious that Calgary is not folding after or trying to go into some crazy rebuild after they lose Kachuk and Goudreau. So at this point, knowing that, what else do they need? Like what's missing from this?
Probably
team?
just the top six, like, forward.
Is
'cause
it
they
just top
did-
6 forward, or do they,
I don't
would you
think
say
they-
it's a center?
I don't think. No, I mean, Backlund can still play there.
But his
Um,
whole line is now changed.
Yeah, but I don't think that it's gonna be a drastic drop playing
Nah,
with
it won't
Huberdeau, and then like Mangiapane. Like, I don't think it's gonna be as steep of a drop off as people may anticipate. I think it's gonna be a steeper drop off for Kachuk and Gaudreau than Lindholm.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with the comment on a top 6 forward for Calgary. I think that's really all they need. They have the goaltending. They have a sick blue line. So, yeah, we all agree that Calgary's won this trade.
Mhm.
It'll be interesting to see what Kachuk does in Florida. No state tax, by the way. Probably playing with Barkov. Maybe
Who knows?
Duclair if he's healthy.
I don't know, bro.
Reinhardt. Like, there's
Florida's-
so many options. Like, they juggle the
Yeah.
lines all the time.
Their
So
lines are so annoying. It's the worst as like a fantasy hockey player is like who's playing with who, and then you just find out like
Hornquist is on the
Hornquist on the
fourth
fourth line.
Yeah.
It's horrible. And Huberdeau wasn't like playing there half the season, and he was playing with Barkov half the season. And then the playoffs against the Caps, it was like game 2 he started playing with Barkov. By game 5 he was not on. It was horrible. Anyways, but yeah, no, I do think because like overall, if you look at it, Calgary got worse technically forward wise. Like you just Goudreau plus Kachuk, and then Huberdeau. Like it makes sense. Like one player versus two, and then, but they did improve pretty much on defense because you went from losing Goodbranson to adding Uyghur. So
yeah.
that's like a major improvement for
Yeah.
me. So if you just add like, people keep saying Kadri is like the big thing there because, even if he falls back into like a 60-point player again, it's like a perfect fit there. The only thing is you still have Monahan, so you need to get rid of that money before any of that happens.
Yeah, I don't know. Kadri's still out there.
So speaking
Still
of
out there.
free agents and stuff, there have been a lot of other signings, such as Johnny Gaudreau going to Columbus, Claude Giroux to Ottawa, Jack Campbell to Edmonton, Darcy Kemper to the Caps. So some really big moves, and each of us on this side of the table can talk about some of those players, like for our respective teams. So, in my opinion, Claude Giroux to Ottawa is a perfect fit. We have a ton of young forwards, and that just solidifies our top 6. It is more than I could ever ask for right now, and he's the perfect mentor for someone like Stützle, who's like a skilled player who needs to get better on draws. I just think I couldn't ask for a better free agent signing. And maybe he only signed here because he's from Ottawa, but
yes,
for me, it was a great signing for me, and I think one of the best ones of the offseason in the NHL.
He didn't come here because he loves like the nightlife or something. But yeah,
He's a dad now.
yeah.
Is his whole family still in Ottawa?
I think so.
Like parents and everything?
Well, his
Hearst.
girlfriend's also from Ottawa,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
Then we can get Claude Giroux on the pod. Could have if we went to
If you
the
went to saw at the game,
some of the Atletico game.
guys, check out Atletico Ottawa.
Yes, shout out, get a
Sponsor.
sponsor.
Atletico Ottawa. Balu
Sponsor.
Tabla.
Balu.
Tabla.
Yes, yes.
So
He's our
Darcy
guy.
Kemper.
I'm ecstatic. Best save percentage, NGA. I don't even have to pull up the stats in the last 4 years for goalies that have played it over 130 games. I sent that to like 7 people, by the way. It wasn't just you two. I was very excited about the signing. Some people are like trying to say it's like, he's old, whatever, but like, and he didn't have the best playoff, but I don't really read too much into that because A, he won a cup, and B, he got his eye gouged out in like the second round, and he still managed to win a cup, so I see nothing bad. And he still had a 921 save percentage. He had a 928 and 925 with Arizona. So I'm hoping our defense isn't as bad as Arizona's. At times it is, but I'm very excited about that signing. I think that's that would have got us. Don't kill me, Florida fans, all 10 of you.
Already taking shots. Episode 1.
I think that's a small enough fan base like to attack. So, but
Yeah, you're not Biz going,
yeah,
screw you, Buffalo!
yeah. Biz also went against the Caps, where it was a whole
And
thing,
the Rangers.
and a lot of teams. But I think Kemper would have definitely held more leads than Samsonov and Vanacek in that series, and we could have got past Florida because we were only down by 1 in like each game, and that's after being up by 1 and up in the series as well. So I don't know. Our whole team's getting over, so we may as well get a goalie that's over 32. So
I also realized you can comment on one of those signings, losing Jack Campbell to the Oilers.
don't talk about your goalies.
I have
fine.
no comments.
Great for the podcast.
I don't know what.
Every time we talk about the Leafs, no comment.
The best signing of the offseason by far is Ilya Samsonov to the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Gotta fix that 7-hole.
Honestly, Jack Campbell's a good signing for Edmonton. He's gonna bring them. Like, I still think he's gonna have his up and downs in the season. I don't think he's gonna have like a flawless year by any stretch.
No goals against.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like not even that way. Like I
You
don't.
said flawless.
I think he's gonna have, but flawless by meaning like
He's gonna let him 1 goal. A
like
game.
he won't like. I think he will at some point. Get to that. He'll drop under 900 for a little bit again. Have a little rough patch. Like he'll have that maybe month or so where, that's my guess anyway. I might be wrong, but I mean, what the goalie situation was and what it is now, I mean, that's a huge signing for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's massive.
They fully changed their goaltending too, because they went from Smith and Koskin into Campbell and Skinner, I think.
Yeah.
Because Skinner's like this. I don't want to say grooming. They've been grooming him for like years, and like he's supposed to be
Sounds
like
sus.
yeah, I know, but he's supposed to be like at least a fringe starter.
So I know like Washington got Kemper and stuff, but like I don't know, I don't see a bigger impact goalie signing than I see Campbell and Edmonton.
For me,
I agree.
personally, I think that Kemper, the difference between Kemper and Samsonov or Vanacek is bigger than the difference between Campbell and Mike Smith. For me,
Yeah, I mean, you might be right there, but I mean, in terms of the team,
what
dynamics,
they need, like what they've needed for
what
years.
they needed for
yeah.
years, and what can really change things for them, like significantly after like a 3rd round exit with Mike Smith. I don't know. I think Campbell's huge.
They might have made it to 7 with Campbell, and then lost.
Yeah, I mean, they're not beating Colorado. in
Yeah,
that.
but even Colorado's
Yeah.
gotten weaker, so who knows?
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, I think that's probably the biggest.
I don't think people talk about Colorado's goaltending enough. Like, it's very
Yeah.
questionable now. You have Georgiev and Francouz.
But the thing is, like, they're going to make the playoffs.
I mean,
And they didn't have a stellar goalie performance in the playoffs. So you just need a guy who's going to be all right. And they probably have.
but it's more
Yeah.
about timely saves. Like, Kemper didn't play out of his mind, but he did make timely saves. And, like, that's part of the reason they won. Especially they even made a massive save on Kucherov in the finals. But you just have to hope that Georgiev and Francouz can do that. But I don't know. Georgiev's been searching for an opportunity forever.
Just have
So.
to hope Matt Murray can do that.
We'll even get to the playoffs. Who knows?
Well, as of today, there's been a lot of signings in a particular place, the Boston Bruins. So Patrice Bergeron has signed a 1-year extension worth $2.5 million AAV. David Krejci is back on a 1-year, $1 million contract. Pavel Zacha signed a 1-year extension for $3.5 AAV.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
So
Wait,
my
how much?
question is...
How much was Zacha?
3.5.
Okay.
So is it Bergeron? Not Bergeron, sorry. Marchand is out for part of the year at the beginning.
It's like
and
couple
McAvoy, right?
months. I don't know about McAvoy. Was
I don't
McAvoy?
know.
Yeah.
McAvoy.
They will be back. So are the Boston Bruins an improved team from last year?
They're basically the
And
exact
are
same
they a
team.
playoff team is my question to you guys.
Playoff
So far,
teams?
Soupy.
Playoff teams a maybe. It's just like they're not worse, and their goaltending is good. And for me, the Sens, Detroit, and Buffalo also have gaping holes on their team. So I don't know if any of them can beat them. It's just a matter of like what actually is Krejci anymore. I don't know. Is he going to be better than Howla? Maybe.
Howla got traded.
No. Is he going to be better than Howla was for them?
Okay.
And then Zaka I think is actually like a good signing for them. Good trade there. And then Bergeron at 2.5 mil is absolutely insane. Like I don't even care if he's 30, however old he is now. That's just insane. So that being said, like I don't see them as being worse or better. I think Swayman's going to be improved next year because he was young, and he was already playing amazing. So I don't think there's a chance that there's a chance they miss the playoffs, but I think it would take like a lot of injuries, which is possible with how old they are. But I do think they're clinging on to this like window for as long as possible, like the Penguins and the Caps. But this seems like a last ditch effort now.
Is it even a last ditch effort? Like I don't know. Like if
with this core, I'm saying.
Yeah, but with
part of the core, I guess.
I mean, don't these signings kind of tell you that they're kind of just buying time?
I don't know. It's just what else were they going to do? Because they still have to. Like I think they're literally just trying to run it back for one more year because Pasternak has to get signed next year, right?
Yeah.
So
is he UFA?
He's UFA next year. So it's a matter of like it's either go now or dismantle. Because then they did like this retool where Chara was gone and stuff like that, and then McAvoy took over. They have Grizzlick, is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
Carlo, all those young guys. So there's a young core developing there. I think this is like there might be a shift after this year in Boston with like Bergeron and Krejci and them potentially retiring, and then you have I don't know what Marchand's going to do. He's kind of just there. And then Pasternak, who knows?
That's what I mean. Isn't this more of a buying time? Like, okay, let's get the young guys develop more. Let's just, sign Bergeron for a couple more years, sign Krejci for another year, get some games in.
I think they are still trying to win, though. They are still, like, these are trying to win signings still. Because Krejci fills the second line center hole, which they have, and they just knew they were going to be able to get him for cheap. And now they like the top two centers on that team for $3.5 million is amazing. Like
it's crazy.
The cost return on that is insane. So I do think that like once they get to like the deadline or something, they could be a team that's in for a move. They also, I forgot about Lindholm too. He's there, so their defense is actually good, probably underrated, and then the goaltending sick.
Yeah.
So after thinking about that, I don't think there's any chance that they miss the playoffs.
I mean, yeah, who would?
Realistically.
Potentially, Ottawa could.
It's just defense, bro. Like that's the only thing.
It's just defense, yeah.
And we don't actually like. I know you love Sanderson. We don't actually know what Sanderson is yet. So
yeah, but I'm not saying Sanderson's gonna be the make or break, but
make or break.
Maybe they still swing for the fences with Chychrun. I don't know. Like there's just so many young pieces in Ottawa, in my opinion. Like especially on the fence with Chabot isn't that young anymore, like 25, whatever. But Sanderson coming in, Brandstrom's really young. Bernard Docker, Lassie Thompson, who play the right side, who are first-round picks. All of those guys could play this year, but I just don't know in what capacity or
the impact.
The impact, exactly. So
chemistry,
and they could still make a trade. So I don't know, but I'd say Ottawa's maybe the one that pushes someone out of those ones. But like I still think the teams that made the playoffs last year are most likely the ones to do it again. I think there'll be more competition this year.
I think it's Ottawa and Detroit. I know you don't like Detroit that much, but like I do think Ottawa and Detroit as a collective will push those teams, but I don't think either of them are going to make it.
I just don't think it's going to be the 8 teams in the East are going to be locked in by mid-November this year.
Yeah. So you say you don't think Ottawa and Detroit are going to make the playoffs?
I agree with him where it's going to be the same. Okay. I think that it's going to be more interesting. I think Toronto's going to have like this point of the season where like, we're all like, what are we going to do about this team?
Matt Murray has a 5.5 GAA.
Yeah, and then Samsonov has 3 shutouts in a row and then has 3 bad games in a row. It's just kind of how it happens. But there's going to be a point for Toronto in the season where they have to like make some decisions and like either add some defense, trade some players, trade someone big. Like something's going to happen. I think it has to happen.
Yeah, I can see that happening.
Yeah, because that's like nothing happens this year. In playoffs, Dubas, Keefe, Shanahan, everyone's gone.
Yeah.
So something's going to happen if they're not playing good.
If Shanahan's not gone, Dubas and Keefe are definitely gone.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so our good friend Sufjan here.
Oh, yeah.
Has added stuff to our website, which you can find at
UnfortunateDiehards.com. I will say it is not completely finished, so give me some time. But I will get the first article out in like the next couple of days, and then probably post a link into our socials, which are also all Unfortunate Diehards. So
subscribe to our socials.
Yeah. So on Twitter,
Instagram,
Instagram,
TikTok, and then obviously what you're probably watching this on YouTube. Hopefully a lot of you. But yeah.
So Sufi has a top 10 list. So he's going to tell us a position and his top 10 players at that position. We will discuss it because we may disagree with.
Oh,
some
you
of
will
his
disagree.
takes.
I will give a little blurb on each of these players because I'm not trying to get killed here. I do also put a disclaimer in all my articles that these are just my opinions. Don't hurt me. That goes for you too as well. Position-wise, it's kind of just like I went off NHL.com, but I put my own discretion where it was needed. Like Matthew Tkachuk played the entire season at right wing, but on NHL he was still listed as left wing, so I put him on right wing. JT Miller played the majority of the season at center, so I have him as a center. Anyways, my list starts at 10. JT Miller, Vancouver Canucks. Going into a contract year now. He had 99 points in 80 games. He had some absolutely amazing goals last year. Just turned a Toronto defenseman inside out. His name is Victor Mete. But I just love his game. Honestly, there was probably three or four more players. I'll talk about them later, honorable mentions, but that could have easily made this. But this essentially just being a preference thing for me because he's one of my favorite players. And if I'm going into like a tiebreaker, that's kind of what I'm going off of. But he also did have pretty good playoffs in 2018-19, and he ranks 6th among centers in assists since 2018-19. Random stat. 9, I have the aforementioned Patrice Bergeron at age 37 now. He had 65 points in 73 games and won his 10,000th Selke Trophy. Best defensive center in the game. He also had a 68% expected goals for at 5.5, which is higher than like the majority of the players in the NHL by like a significant margin. If you don't know what that stat means, I will get you to go on JFresh's page and look at the description. Number 8, I have Elias Lindholm, 42 goals, 40 assists, 82 points in 82 games. Lethal shot, very underrated shot, and I do think that he was just as big of a part of that line as the other two on that line, and he had the best finishing skills out of any of those guys as well in terms of not just in front of the net like Matthew Tkachuk, but but he played at a 40-40 pace last year, and I think he's going to do the same this year. I wouldn't be surprised if he does the same this year with Huberdeau. So 7, I have Sebastian Aho, 81 points in 79 games, 37 goals. I went deep into Aho's game because I was astounded by the numbers, and I didn't realize how good he is, mostly because I tend to like push that out of my mind because he's on Carolina. But since 2018-19, among centers, he ranks 5th in goals, 5th in even strength goals, 11th in assists, 8th in points, and 1st in shorthanded points and shorthanded goals. And in the last 285 games, he has 287 points. And he also a good playoff performer, 46 points in 48 games. He's just gross. 6 is where it starts to get a little controversial for Penguins fans because I have Sidney Crosby at 6. 84 points in 69 games. I do say that he is basically the same player, even if he has lost half a step. I just think that there's players that have passed him. And one of those is number 5, Alex Barkov, 88 points in 67 games, which is essentially the same pace as Crosby. But for me, and the analytics community, we have Barkov listed as a much better defensive player last year. And I don't know. I just think Barkov holds that spot. Number 4, I have Draisaitl, 105 points in 80 games, 55 goals. As a goal scorer, he's, I think, appreciated now. He has 250-goal seasons, but he is, in my mind, the best backhand passer in the league and like a top 3 passer in the league. He has 59 points in 37 career playoff games, and like last year he had 32 points on one leg in 16 games. Since 2018-19, second in points per games, goals, assists, power play points, even strength points, first in shooting percentage, and average time on ice, and third in even strength goals. The only thing that really brings them down is the defensive effort and effort in general. But number 3, I have Nathan McKinnon, 88 points in 65 games. He is a great game breaker. He has the best crossovers in the league since 2018-19, third in points, 6th in goals, third in assists, first in shots, fourth in even strength points among centers. And if it wasn't for the 2 guys on this list just being better than him, Austin Matthews, number 2, 60 goals, 46 assists, 106 points, 73 games. Since 2018-19, he obviously leads the league in goals and even strength goals. He's second in shots, fourth in points among centers. I think the big thing with him, too, is he's just a significantly better defensive player, and every single time he's on the ice, it's like just impossible not to notice him because he just does something at all times, whether it's a defensive player or an offensive player. The only player that you can notice more than him is McDavid, and 123 points in 80 games. I did since he started playing in the NHL among centers, since 2015-16, he is first in points, first in assists, first in points per game, first in even strength points, first in power play points, first in game-winning goals, first in average time on ice amongst all players, all forwards at that point, first in overtime goals, third in goals, second in even strength goals, and fifth in shots. I'll just leave it at that. McDavid is also the best player in the NHL. Undebatable.
After Matthews. I'm joking.
That's a fan base to go after.
See, I think it's an interesting list. Just because I feel like after this season, there could be 3 or 4 other players in there. In the sense,
I think that's gonna be most of my list. Honestly, I feel the same.
Yeah, for example, Steven Stamkos had a sneaky good season last year.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see my honorable mentions.
Okay, go ahead.
Steven Stamkos, Mika Zibanejad, and Braden Point.
Yes, Mika Zibanejad.
Stamkos had 106 points in 81 games, 42 goals. I imagine you were about to mention that. Zibanejad, 81 points in 81 games, Point, 58 and 66. Seen as a two-way player. Great playoff performer. But yeah.
I think if Stamkos falls up another year like that, then he's squeezing into that top 10.
It was very close for me.
Yeah.
Honestly, for me, it just came down to surroundings, and I'm not a person that usually factors that in too much, but he is getting fed by some of the best players in the league for goals-wise, and he is passing it to some of the best players in the league. I understand Miller has decent forwards around him, but he is the one that carries the majority of that offense. He has 25 more points than the next player on his team, or 30 or whatever it is. So, even Pettersson, I think, had 68 and he was second or something like that. So, that's why I had him higher than Stamkos.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that list.
Yeah.
It's hard to argue, in a lot of those situations. My example, some people may not like it, but I'm a big Jack Eichel guy in the sense of his on-ice play. I love big centermen. Matthews, unfortunately, is really pretty to watch, I would say. I think Eichel's very similar to that. Just a big guy, really good skater for his size, and he could have an unbelievable year in Vegas, and it wouldn't be surprising to me. Malkin, if he had a full healthy season, even though he's older, could have a really good season. Shifley is super underrated in my opinion. He had kind of an off year last year, but he picked it up. He was way below point per game, caught up to point per game. I don't know, just so many different options that it could swap out. So it's hard to say a top 10 always because there's so many to argue. Other than I would say the top 3 to
John
5
Tavares.
to 3.
John Tavares,
So I like that list.
For me, thank you. The only real thing is that with Eichel too, it's hard to gauge where he actually is at. Same with Malkin, to be fair. They both didn't look like themselves for a lot of the year. Eichel didn't look like himself the entire 37 games he played or whatever. I think he had 30 points or something, or maybe less. I don't know. I don't remember stats.
Yeah, Eichel will need it.
Eichel
will come back,
he's coming off thing is Eichel in 2019-20, he's in my top 8 or 7 easily.
Yeah.
because he had like a point a game in Buffalo. Like I
Yeah.
think that you automatically make this list. So he will be back in there somehow. I think Miller gets bumped. I think Lindholm kind of just depends on how he plays with Huberdeau and stuff. But I don't know. We are doing the left wingers next week, so that should be interesting. And yeah,
The only part of that list that you might get flack from some people on is putting that Barkov over Crosby.
yeah. But for me, I think that's less of a debate now, especially after last year. I think Barkov really showed like what he was made of, and like
Yeah.
their stats like in terms of like just regular stats are extremely close. So I kind of just dived into the analytic numbers from last year, and it just came into Barkov being like a much better overall player. It wouldn't surprise me like Crosby just resurging again at like 35 because he just seems like he's going to do that. So, and Penguins were also very injured last year.
Yeah.
I can understand it, but there's also the significant likelihood that he gets injured as well because that's kind of just been the story of his career at this point. But I'm hoping Barkov kind of just holds this down for me because I'm very like that top 5 for me is a lock for
Yeah.
now. And Aho was like the biggest surprise for me on this list because I didn't realize how good he was until I did this. For me, it was just like every now and again he would just score an insane goal against the Caps, and I'd be like, "Who is this guy?" And I hate you. And then I looked at his stats, and I was like,
Yeah, I would never have guessed that he would have actually been in the top 10 as well.
Mhm.
I would never have guessed that.
But for me, it's hard to argue against him being there.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So, kind of wrap up on, we have this segment we're going to have every episode, which is called our head-to-head matchup. Because we had centers for our top 10 list, I had a couple in mind. So, as a practice before we did this, we did a Matthews versus McKinnon one. There were 2 votes Matthews, 1 vote McKinnon. I won't name names. I was McKinnon.
I think
So for this one, I feel like I may stand alone again. But
Josh,
my question would be, if you had to have a player on your team, would you prefer to have Sidney Crosby or Leon Draisaitl?
right now?
Right
Yep.
now?
Oh, that's easy for me.
Okay, but who are we surrounding these players with?
I'm just asking who you want on your team.
Draisaitl.
Because I think I'm going Sidney Crosby.
I know you're going Sidney Crosby. You'll go Sidney Crosby when he's 47 and not playing anymore, and talk about his cups.
It's hard to go against Sidney Crosby.
Especially
Oh,
after
this is
someone
tough.
brought up, I think Crosby is a solid two-way guy as well, but can also, like, solid. And
No, he
can
wasn't
put
last
up,
year.
like you said, like, he had, 84 points in 60-something games? Like, he was on a 115-point pace this year.
But that's the thing; he fell off bad defensively last year, and I don't see that trend coming back up.
Well, if we're comparing the two, and you're leaning towards Crosby, what would you say Crosby does better right now than Draisaitl in his game?
I think Draisaitl probably... I feel like it is close for kind of like creating offense, but I think Crosby has a more complete game, which is why I'm picking him. In 3 years, I'm probably like almost definitely going Draisaitl without even
retired in 3 years.
thinking about it. Exactly. So, but right now, when Crosby's still so good, I have to go with him.
For me, well, first off, I'm not going against my list. So, but second, for me, the way I see it is completely different than you, because I think you see them as similar impacts offensively. For me, it's like right now, offensive impact wise, Draisaitl's like up here, Crosby's like here. Neither was good defensively. Draisaitl's always been bad defensively. Crosby last year was just not good defensively, or he was like below average. Regardless, I don't think that difference is enough to make up for Draisaitl's offensive game, and with how Draisaitl has played in the playoffs, like recently, versus Crosby, recently, it isn't even close. So if we're gonna bring playoffs in the conversation, you can talk about his 3 cups. That's in the past now. That's like him talking about Matt Murray's 2 cups. But for me, right now, Draisaitl is the better offensive player by a wide margin. Draisaitl is a better playoff player right now, by a significant margin. Defensively, don't really care about Draisaitl's defense. I'll be completely honest. Put him with Zach Hyman, it's fine. Crosby, I'll give it to him a little bit more. And yeah,
And the face-offs.
face-offs. What is Leon Draisaitl's face-off percentage?
I don't know. I'm just assuming Crosby has a higher face-off
doesn't.
percentage. I don't. Does he not?
No.
Never mind.
It was 52 to 53.4.
Oh, that's
Crosby's career is higher, but that was because Draisaitl is at the start of his career was in the 40s, but lately it's been much
improved.
better. Yeah, last 3 years 55.7.
But do you think
53.4.
like Crosby is it's a classic NHL tale that he plays with some questionable wingers all the time.
That's what I was going to say.
Where
Actually.
this past season he played a lot with Connor McDavid, and I'm not saying that's the only reason. No, they're absolutely both insane players. But do you think if roles were reversed, Draisaitl would still produce at the rate that Sidney Crosby even does?
Yes, because for me, Crosby not playing with good line mates is not because of him, or it's not because of lack of good teammates. Crosby, throughout his career, has played better with worse players. Even if you look at Team Canada, he didn't play with the best wingers, and it isn't because like the wingers that he had were like better or whatever. Like he could have played with anyone on that team, but he played with Bergeron and Marchand, both great players. But in terms of Team Canada, they probably wouldn't have been on the first line unless it was with Crosby. And then you have the Pittsburgh winning years in like 2017 and stuff. He could have played with Kessel. He could have played with whoever else was there, but he didn't because he just doesn't play. He doesn't mix well with those kinds of players. He mixes well with 2 grinding wingers that can just go to the net and score for him.
So you'd say he's more of like the puck carrier, where he needs someone who can retrieve the puck, who can be in the right spot at the right time, and that's what he tries.
Yeah. I don't think. Obviously, like if you play with like Ovechkin or something, I think he would be amazing. But it's just he's never played with those wingers because he's never like had to or they've never put those wingers on his line until like Gensel.
It's crazy because Crosby's never played with crazy players, but it's always been something in his career where they're like he needs guys that are he needs specific players to play with him.
Yeah. It isn't even necessarily bad players. Like I'm not saying like because Gensel is a good player, but you put Gensel and then you put like Rust on the side or something like that, or Dominic Simon or something.
But you know what? At the same time, anytime he was on with Malkin, they were dominating.
Yeah, but
like when them two were on together, they were dominant, always. So I don't know if it's just that Kessel wouldn't mesh well with him and it wouldn't work, or someone else on Team Canada wouldn't mesh well with him and it wouldn't work. It's more how he's like. I don't know. He in my opinion, he single-handedly was the reason Chris Kunitz made Team Canada.
Yeah, but again, we're going into past. If this is like 2014 Crosby versus now Draisaitl, I'm taking 2014 Crosby.
Yeah.
But for me, it's just like, so yes, Malkin he played well with. Again, it could be another style thing there. Kessel didn't go into corners, didn't do anything. He just was very much shooter. Malkin did do that stuff. He did. He's a big body. He muscles his way to the front of the net. He does everything the way that Crosby would ideally want to, but Malkin wasn't going to play with him all the time because he's a center.
Yeah.
If they got another Malkin-type winger on Crosby's wing, then yes. Then I think he'd be astronomical with that player.
I think that was an interesting point. Didn't Chris Kunitz make the Olympic team over Claude Giroux and Martin St. Louis?
Literally.
Yeah.
Like,
he made it.
That's
what I'm saying,
crazy.
bro. But that's what I'm saying. Like, he's the type of player you just get guys to come on the team for. Like, it's not. they probably have better players that they could have chosen for that team, and probably, arguably, wouldn't have performed as well with Crosby.
Yeah, literally, I bet literally Crosby advocated for Chris Kunitz to be on that team.
Easily.
Yeah.
Maybe there was. Maybe there was. Also
I'm
a
not
management
going if he's not on the team.
I mean, yeah.
that's a big pull.
I mean, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a hard comparison right now, just because they're at completely different stages in their career. Like,
I probably exaggerated how
But
bad
this is,
Crosby is on
the
defense right now.
head-to-head is supposed to be like for this season, like right now. It's not. Would you prefer this player's career for the next 5 years? It's
Going
which
into next
player right now.
Going into next season, I'm going with Draisaitl.
I'm going with Crosby.
you know what? I'll go with Crosby.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take the singular. I know I'm right, so that's fine.
We've had multiple warm-ups, I guess, for this podcast, and I've been the one who doesn't choose with everyone else so far, so it feels good.
To be fair, I think. Wait, we can say this because it wasn't recorded, but the remember the Kachuk Huberdeau one? You said you were like iffy on that you might have actually won Huberdeau.
It was close. I think it could go either way.
But I think for me and him, it wasn't close. That was the big difference.
For me and you, it was by miles. Huberdeau.
I think it's a lot closer than you guys are giving
I mean, you could
credit
be
for.
right, but as of right now, I don't see it.
I don't see Kachuk as like a 100-point player. That's my only thing.
I don't
do
think
see
you have
Huberdeau.
to be a 100-point player
Okay, so-
to be a better player than a 100-point player.
I don't think that 80 points and hitting equate to 115 points.
Well, we'll see who does better this coming year. and
Mark
what impacts they
Borowiecki's
have.
400 hits a year does not equate to Huberdeau's
How much-
115 points.
That's your opinion.
How much does your what do you call it? Team morale boosting.
Oh, with any Kachuk ever?
With any
Oh, by
Kachuk?
so much.
The morale boosting ups their contracts by $2 million. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you have any reasoning behind picking Crosby?
Because I know that I can put anyone with Crosby and he'll
that's
do good
false
with
though.
them.
That's false though.
Ugh.
You just said anyone. That has been proven false
By who?
by wingers that have like carouseled on his line and like even including star wingers. Like it's not
No, but I mean like I don't. I
like
don't,
who
like,
do you mean? What do you mean by anyone?
I don't mean just
Ryan Reeves?
No, I don't mean sticking with anyone. I mean, he'll have a better. I think Crosby, you put him on a team that doesn't have a McDavid or, even a Nugent Hopkins for that matter, and I think he'll be more successful than Draisaitl would be in the same circumstance.
Which I agree with.
Right now, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah,
But,
that's
yeah.
my thing. Going into next year, I don't. Bro, I'm just
Because Draisaitl has a McDavid, he has a Kane, he has Nugent Hopkins, and he has all these guys who he'll play power play with. He'll eventually play some game time with. depending on
Pittsburgh's power
scores
play
and
isn't
stuff.
that good.
It's great, but like at this point, I don't know if you compare even let's wash Draisaitl and Crosby out of the power play. Like you compare McDavid and Malkin, that's not close.
That's the thing though. The McDavid's a trump card. It doesn't count.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you?
But
yeah.
if you do look at their impacts on the power play, Draisaitl's is the best in the league, and it isn't because of McDavid. It's because of him.
Yeah, no doubt, he's great.
It is that is like he is the best power play player in the league. So, for me, that just like takes out the McDavid equation. I think you take McDavid out off that team and you just like leave Evander Kane, Hopkins, Hyman, and Nurse. I think they'll still have an amazing power play, just because of Draisaitl.
I'm thinking this scenario in if you had a team, let's say Seattle,
Yeah.
for one season, had to make the playoffs. Had to. Like you're like a team with not a ton of great players.
Yeah.
And you pick one of them to push you into the playoffs for this season.
For this
It's
season,
so hard not to go with Crosby because
Yeah.
that winning culture, that winning pedigree, like
it's the pedigree though. Like I don't care about the
No, but-
pedigree, bro.
okay, you don't have to care about it, but yeah, he's won cups, he's performed, and he like just the amount of stuff he does to win. When Draisaitl, I guess, like I'm not gonna say like is poopy pants in interviews. Because
Oh, I don't care
but
about
that
that,
interviewer
bro.
was
Come
definitely
on.
the wrong one. But like Crosby is like he's
been
old
pissed off
enough
in
that he
interviews.
just like knows what to do
Really?
yeah,
to get
There's
into
literally
those
he's been on top
situations.
I don't care about his interviews, bro. It's just like
No, it was just a joke.
He did have, as a playoff performer right now, Draisaitl is better. And Crosby's recent playoff performances, I don't know if you guys have ever seen them.
But I'm saying just you don't have that if you don't make the playoffs. And I think Crosby on a team like that gives you a better chance to make the playoffs.
Crosby plays 60 games and they miss the playoffs.
Draisaitl loses his leg in the regular season, doesn't play.
Draisaitl loses his leg in the regular season, he scores a point and a half a game.
Okay, if you have
No, but he's playing. He would not have played on that injury so soon if it was in the regular season. So let's say they both had an injury.
But that one injury doesn't make him injury prone. Crosby has repeated injuries. It isn't like a uncommon thing for Crosby. And I do think at this age, if I'm going into a season and I need to make the playoffs, I want someone that's gonna be healthy, and that's not a guarantee with Crosby ever.
That shouldn't be part of the equation, though. We're doing a head-to-head in terms of play.
So if you're going 82 games, I'm still going Draisaitl.
Yeah, if you have both for 82 games on Seattle, Crosby still for me.
I think.
Have you guys seen Crosby's recent play? Have you guys seen Crosby's recent playoff performances?
Have you seen his 115-point season projection last year? Still
Yeah.
at that age.
So, what's Draisaitl's like 140?
He will have a bigger impact on every player around him than Draisaitl can. Draisaitl might end with more points than he. I don't like. I'm not even saying that's not going to happen, but he'll have the biggest impact on that team.
But for me though, I can't really take the injury thing out of consideration. I feel like that's a major part of playing.
No, but
hockey.
but we're talking only about them two as players. Like, forget injury.
But them two as players, you have to consider injuries though. How do you not consider injuries if a guy has missed significant injury time in the last 3 years?
Because that's completely disregarding them as players and just putting this guy.
But for me, that's
not play.
It is a tiebreaker though for me. Like, it's not the initial thing. For me, Draisaitl was better regardless of injury. But for me, Crosby comes down more because of injuries. Because he hasn't played a full season since 2018-19, and before that he had major injury issues. I'm scared for Crosby's life.
Okay.
3 concussions, bro. He's testing fate. He should retire after Hedman.
I don't know. Okay, I'm taking the injury thing out of it. I know realistically injury is important, but if I'm taking both players impact wise when they're healthy.
We always go into these hypotheticals and it pisses me off.
You brought up the injuries.
No, into the hypotheticals of putting them on Seattle.
Oh, okay.
But that's the thing.
Which player who is an elite franchise player is going to give you the best shot of winning, but you have to get to that point to be able to win in the playoffs?
Leon Draisaitl.
No, he's not going to bring you to the playoffs more easily
in
than
the
Crosby
in the last 5 years, Crosby has been a better regular season performer than Draisaitl.
But
if you want to go into past stats.
But what do you? Okay,
you're saying get into the playoffs. Draisaitl has been better last 5 years. You go into the playoffs the last 5 years.
You're saying they're getting into the playoffs because of Leon Draisaitl.
I'm saying in the last 5 years he's been a better player. I don't think Pittsburgh's getting into the playoffs just because of Crosby either.
You know what's another reason why I would choose Crosby is because Crosby's always been the go-to guy. Always.
I don't care about his always, bro.
But that's in him. That's in him for his whole career. He's the go-to guy.
You're going clutch gene on me, bro. I don't know. I don't care.
But your argument is I don't care about points you bring up.
Because are you taking Matthews over Crosby right now?
Am I taking Matthews over Crosby?
Yes.
If I put them on Seattle.
Yes.
This
is my. If you say Crosby, I'll change my answer to Crosby. Because then your whole argument is out the window.
If I say Crosby.
If you say Matthews. The whole playoff thing here with the whole not the go-to guy whatnot.
Do I think Matthews can take you into the playoffs as himself on a team like Seattle? I think he can.
More than Crosby. And then perform in the playoffs because I don't know where that got lost in the equation. That is still a thing.
Yeah, but there's not much defense I have for Matthews' playoff performance. I know he's put up his points and stuff, but they haven't gone anywhere. So I can't put up as much as we talk about. Oh, but he's been a point a game or whatever his stat is in the playoffs in his career.
I can't. 32 points in 39 games.
Is it like that? Okay, yeah. So
no,
whatever.
It's not even good.
Yeah,
so.
whatever. Yeah, whatever his stats are, if they were good or bad.
They've been. But okay, then watch that because Crosby's stats have been just as bad in the last 4 years. So give me regular season.
Who am I going?
I flipped it on you.
You did.
This is not the head-to-head we were
I
supposed
know,
to have.
but this is gonna determine my answer.
But
No buts. Give me your answer.
for one season.
For one season. Next season.
Well, I don't know. Like, I've got bias in me too. I'm saying Matthews.
Okay. I'm staying with Draisaitl.
Would you go Matthews over Crosby?
That's really tough.
It's really tough. But it doesn't affect how I feel about Draisaitl Crosby.
It's the same equation, bro.
I don't think
It's
it
the
is.
same equation. Matthews is playing with great players too.
No, I think I lean Matthews.
Oh
Yeah.
God. Okay.
Maybe. I'd still have to think about it more.
What is this takeover and?
Because Matthews,
is better than Draisaitl. He was on your list higher.
No. Okay.
in my
Chill.
opinion, Matthews is significantly better than Draisaitl. But whatever, that's my opinion. So,
regardless,
yeah.
I also don't think that Matthews had to carry his team into the playoffs. Like I think he had enough help around him to do that. So
So you're saying without Matthews on the team, Leafs would have still made the playoffs.
yeah, I don't think like it'd be that much different. I think Tavares would move higher. I think he would have hopefully performed better. I don't know, but yeah.
Okay.
They have enough impact players around him.
They have a winning record without him anyway. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. But then you take this whole clutch thing you guys are talking about and like, oh, this guy's done it, this guy's performed everything, and then
I'm
you
saying
still
getting to the playoffs.
yes, but you're still saying you were saying that to put a team on your back, you're saying Crosby to carry you to the playoffs. So what is the difference between?
But
So what has Matthews done to prove that over Draisaitl?
because Matthews is much more dominant than Draisaitl.
Okay, you
I
guys are going
agree.
against yourself then. I don't know.
You said that Matthews is an elite two-way center
Yeah.
who
Okay.
scores goals, who gets points.
And
So
who plays
therefore,
defense.
if you're saying that Draisaitl drives offense up here,
Mm-hmm.
Matthews is hella close to that or around that same area and is significantly, your quote, better defensively.
Yes, but what all that stuff is whatever because you guys are saying that Crosby is just as good as Draisaitl offensively or close, and then he has significantly better defense. So, which isn't true, but regardless.
Look at the last couple of years of Crosby. The year before this
But
one,
I don't care about the year before this.
you
one.
were bringing up the past 5 years.
No, I know, but the thing is, Crosby's already 35. He's not going up anymore. He's going down.
115 points.
You know,
going
it's-
down.
Yeah,
with
where he
shit
would have been on
line
pace,
mates.
but again, he's injured, so he's never going to get to 150 points.
You're just bringing up these different scenarios.
No, I'm telling you, bro. Like, you guys are discounting injuries. You guys are discounting recent playoff performances.
Fine.
What are you accounting for here?
Fine, I'll put injuries back in there if you want.
You want 60 games of Crosby, which is the average of the last 3 years, or less actually, versus a full 82 of Draisaitl.
I don't like having.
You're
injuries
also
in there.
guaranteeing a full 80. You're guaranteeing a full 82. If once you
The
get a high
likely-
ankle
wait.
sprain, it's really easy to get the injury again. Especially
Bro,
in hockey, it's a difficult
bro,
injury.
it hasn't been as common as concussions with Crosby. It's much easier to get a concussion again than a high ankle sprain. And like, there's been significant players that have come back from that and haven't gotten injured again, i.e. Stamkos, with the same injury.
Crosby comes back from injuries though and plays the exact same.
Okay, but he still missed 20 games of them. On a team like Seattle, they wouldn't survive like that.
Okay, fine. Tell me one thing. How much higher are you putting Matthews than Draisaitl?
Or even Draisaitl.
That
and
doesn't matter to
Crosby.
me. I would pick Matthews over
But that's a big
Crosby
deal.
in
That's
general.
that's a big part of this discussion. How higher are you putting Matthews than Draisaitl?
For me, yeah, I mean, I put him 2 spots ahead of him, and I put McKinnon ahead of him too.
So that's significant, right?
Yeah. But regardless, like in that debate, Matthews Crosby, that isn't even, like, I wouldn't even have that conversation. But the fact that you guys even like had that like little debate in your head where it was like, do I go Crosby over Matthews? I know you guys didn't pick him. That's where I knew that we're never going to agree on this. Because that isn't even a debate in my head. I would choose Matthews 100 times out of 100
It's
going into next
Sidney
year.
freaking Crosby
Bro,
though.
you're gonna-
how do you not second guess yourself
You're
for
gonna
that?
say that until he's like 40.
I think
and
it's
don't
just
get it.
in our brains that okay, it's
'Cause, like,
Crosby. I can't second guess him.
I understand that, and Crosby hasn't done shit in the playoffs for the last
I
4
mean,
years.
the guy who is an arch rival of Sidney Crosby is the one saying this though.
But Crosby hasn't been like that clutch performer for 4 years.
Okay, no, I agree that. Yeah, I would take Matthews over Crosby.
You wouldn't take Draisaitl. I know, I understand
But I
that.
wouldn't-
But
yeah.
so, you guys think McKinnon is better than Draisaitl? Agreed.
Yes.
Yes.
Would you take McKinnon over Crosby? Again, this isn't even a debate in my head. So, and he has your alleged playoff performances that
Yeah.
Crosby had ons ago.
I would definitely
eons ago.
For 1 year I'd take McKinnon over Crosby.
for 1 year. Yeah. I'll take McKinnon and Matthews over Crosby.
Okay.
I will
move
not
on.
I think there's
take Draisaitl
three
over
players
Crosby.
I take over him in the second.
But you guys are just debating so
Literally, the only 3 players I would take over Crosby are Matthews, McKinnon, and McDavid.
players in general.
No, centers.
Centers. Yeah.
Okay, so you guys would have Crosby as your 4th best center in the NHL.
Probably.
Yes. Yeah. That's why I said
I think this is
get some flack on that.
then yeah, but we're not gonna get any. There's no
Wait, where
debate
did you
here for me anymore.
Where you have Draisaitl?
4,
And Crosby was?
6.
Okay. Geez.
Yeah. So again, like for me, this isn't like a. If you said Draisaitl Barkov, it would have been a harder debate in my head.
I literally thought about doing that pairing, but I was like,
That would have been a good one.
I would have struggled with it. For me, Crosby isn't you're. I think you're marveling about how good he still is, which I understand. But he just isn't as impactful as he was before, and I do think that there are players that have passed him. And in the playoffs, it has shown that he hasn't been as impactful.
I would agree that there are players that are past him, which is why I would have.
I don't know, but I think that there's more than just the 3 ahead of him. I think that at age 35, going into his age 36 season, he's already not durable. I'm sorry, I keep bringing that up. He hasn't performed as well in the playoffs. He hasn't been he had a really good offensive season last year in Pittsburgh, but he wasn't as good defensively. I don't think there's enough things trending upwards for me about Crosby versus Draisaitl.
so you saying that next year, let's say, both teams make the playoffs. Let's say McDavid goes down, and let's say Malkin and you can pick Gensler or Letang. You can pick. Essentially, I think McDavid is just so valuable that he's probably similar in value to 2 really good players on another team. Who do you trust more to push that team further in the playoffs?
Draisaitl, easy.
No.
Bro, okay, but that's where you're just wrong, because you're just saying that Crosby is still the exact same playoff performer that he was.
Okay, Draisaitl had an amazing playoff.
Bro,
Absolutely ridiculous.
He's at 59 in 37 games.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you that it was stupidly ridiculous.
But when was the last time Crosby was good in the playoffs? That's what I'm trying to understand.
But my point being that he's been good for so long and has proven to be good in the playoffs in so many different ways.
Give me Matt Murray in the playoffs over Kemper. Because Matt Murray has 2 cups 5 years ago, which is essentially the same thing.
This is different.
I understand.
come on.
Comparing Crosby.
Oh, my God.
Regardless, I don't care. Because Crosby just hasn't been the same in the playoffs, and regardless, even if you want to say he's still a decent player in the playoffs, a good. For me, Draisaitl has just been way more impactful in the playoffs than Crosby has in the last 4 years. We're gonna stop it at 4 years because before that, Crosby was insane. But yeah. He had 20 points in 12 games. But that was 4 years ago.
That was the cup year, right? Was it a cup year? No, 4 years ago.
Yeah,
was a cup
no,
year.
20. No, it was 2018. Wait, no, 2018 was Caps.
Yeah.
Yeah, we beat them.
2017 was the cup year.
He had 21 points in 12 games that year. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the next season, he had 1 point in 4 games, and it was an assist. And I bet you it's secondary as well.
Maybe he had one of those concussions you brought up.
Yeah, which is staple to him for the rest of his career. I don't personally. I think
You should throw out that even though you're a Caps fan, you've told me multiple times that he's one of if not the best player ever.
Crosby is the best player ever. For me, Crosby is the best player ever. But
you wouldn't pick the best player ever over.
I wouldn't pick
Draisaitl.
At age 35. No, I think Ovechkin's the greatest goal scorer ever. I wouldn't pick him over Matthews. In terms of just
greatest player.
In terms of just but they're at this point in their career. That's the whole point. You're factoring. So when Wayne Gretzky was playing in the last 5 years of his career, there was players that were significantly better than him, and you would still choose Gretzky over them in the playoffs. You would still choose this is a very out there debate now. You would still choose.
This has been going on for a while.
You would still choose Gretzky over
the hour mark. By the
you would choose Gretzky over Yager in '96. I rest my case. It's the same thing.
You're picking 2 different people in
thing.
different eras.
Yager was very Draisaitl-esque in that time.
But was Gretzky Crosby-esque?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
You said a lot of players significantly better than him.
Well, no, I that was just an exaggeration for comedic flair.
Now it's exaggeration.
Yeah. Wait.
Let's go look at what was Gretzky in the last 96?
All
Why are we
right.
getting into this?
I
Why
think
are
we
getting
should
into
we
this?
should
80
get-
It's the
we
exact
can-
same as Crosby.
we
That's
can
wild.
continue this. We can continue this after we're done.
To sum up, Evan and I would take Crosby. over
Majority
Draisaitl.
Crosby.
Yeah, majority
Gretzky had
Crosby.
97 points in his third last year.
Yeah,
And-
we can have our own debate about how good
That's
we
insane.
think Wayne Gretzky is, but you know, yeah.
Not better than Crosby. Tell you that much.
Yeah.
Bro, this is not going to go over well considering I'm wearing the jersey I'm wearing.
That's
And I also
true.
did call Crosby horrible defensively.
Maybe that should be one of the clips.
Yeah,
He
that
was
should
like-
be. Yeah, honestly, what the
He was
fuck
like-
defensively? That's like
No,
bold,
but
bro.
okay, he was
That's bold.
he was below average defensively last year. Draisaitl was below average every year, but in terms of offense, creation wise, Draisaitl was like transcendent. Like it was very high. And for me, the
But
things
he's in
that
a perfect scenario where McDavid is literally like
but for me,
God. So you
Yeah.
you literally have to pay so much attention to him that you have another elite player on the same line. It's like
it's not
I'm
always on the
torn.
same line though. He's
But
not
they play at
He's-
least half the games together.
not every year, and that was just this year. Before that,
You're using this
That
year
was
as an example.
That was the whole.
okay, but still, like, when you guys are bringing up however many years of Crosby, let me bring up the last 4 years of
We're
Draisaitl.
back into it.
Last like 70% of the time he wasn't playing with Crosby, or Crosby, McDavid. It's a little late, and he still had 55 goals, 55 assists, 50 goals, 55 assists, whatever the hell it is. So the McDavid factor is there. I'm not denying that, but I don't think it's enough to trump him or trump Crosby over him.
I don't think it's just there. It's there in a big way.
Okay, but I
He
don't think
takes
I don't
so
think
much.
you put Crosby on the same team. I don't think it's going to be that much
Even
better
on
than
different
Draisaitl.
lines, you're putting your best matchup for defense and everything against McDavid. You're not putting it against Draisaitl.
Okay, but I'm not going to discount him just because of the team he's on. You know, like if you just look at the two players skill wise right now, I just think that Draisaitl offers more.
Okay, but if you're talking about both of them in comparison right now as well, Crosby is still getting number one D pairs against him.
Okay, that's fine, but like I'm just saying, in terms of their skill level, I don't see Draisaitl as being worse than Crosby right now.
Skill level.
Yes,
Okay,
and in
so-
terms of like their overall impact on the game right now.
Okay, skill level is a different discussion, but in terms of their impact on the game, I don't think you're putting. I
think it's
Draisaitl over
close.
Crosby, yeah.
But I'm still leaning Crosby.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm
I'm
going
going
Crosby.
Gretzky.
All right, guys, you let us know.
Yeah.
In
Who
the
do you
comments.
think?
Who do you think?
I'm getting crucified.
Between
By 5
Crosby
people.
and Draisaitl, and if you agree that we pick Matthews over Crosby, actually, even that
We don't have to do that.
And
You don't have to do
McKinnon.
that,
And
but
McKinnon,
yeah,
actually.
and McKinnon. But yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
this is a head-to-head.
But you know, between Crosby and Draisaitl, who would you pick as your number one?
I have a feeling we're going to become the most hated on the podcast. You brought Crosby.
Sufi is like the most passionate person I've ever met. So
The thing is, if you
Yeah.
if it was just a different player, if you did Crosby against like Ovechkin, I probably even would have went Crosby wearing this jersey. So for me, I genuinely do believe that. That's what I'm saying. I'm not just saying it because it's Crosby.
well, we're going to thank everyone for tuning in to our first episode of the Unfortunate Diehards podcast. We've been setting up and talking about this for a really long time, and it's finally getting going. So we really appreciate you tuning in. And anything
you,
else to say, boys?
If you liked it, please subscribe. Hit the like button.
Didn't think I'd actually be saying that. Like, subscribe,
Like and
follow.
subscribe, please.
Hit the bell.
Follow us
The
on
bell, yes.
Instagram. Follow us on Instagram, Unfortunate Diehards. Follow us on,
Twitter and TikTok.
Our
Twitter and
eventual
TikTok.
Patreon as well.
and please check out the website where you can see Sufi's controversial top 10 centers list.
Well,
And we will be
that was
adding
definitely going to be
more.
controversial.
We'll be adding more to the website.
We'll be adding
as
more
we
to the
go on.
website. Yeah, please like, please subscribe, and thank you for tuning in.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll be putting monthly awards and weekly recaps on there. Weekly
And also,
articles.
yeah, we will be posting new episodes on a weekly basis every Tuesday of the week. So please tune in every Tuesday. Set your reminders on YouTube.
And go Sens. See you next time.
Go Leafs.
Yeah, Caps.
How unfortunate.